y'all are weird. Y'all are really weird. What do you mean? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna, or Sobri Baby, and today we gonna get into some mess, honey. So last night I went to go watch Challengers. Let me tell y'all, this movie was a hot mess. Like not in like the technicalities of the movie. Like I think the movie was great, but the drama, we gonna get into that. So I'm gonna be giving a full recap, full spoiler, full review of Challengers 2024 featuring Zendaya and them two other dudes whose names I don't remember. So let's get into the video. If y'all thought Twilight was messy, Belly ain't got shit on Tashi. Okay, so the movie does like a whole bunch of like jumping back and forth and all that, like 10 years here, 2 weeks there, like it's a lot. So if the timeline is a little bit confusing, like it's not because I'm crazy, that's just like how the movie was. So the movie starts off with in the middle of a tennis match between Art Donaldson and Patrick Slay. I don't know how to say that. Patrick. So these two having a match. If you don't know what's going on, nobody knows what's going on yet. So and then Tashi is Art's wife and / coach, and she watched the match and she looks stressed. And we like, why she stressed? We don't know. It gonna take the whole movie to understand why she's so stressed. Girl was stressed out. So then it flashes back. Oh, Art is losing, by the way. So then it flashes back to 2 weeks before, and apparently Art has some like type of injury, and Tashi was saying that like she wished she would recover from her injury the way he did because he's basically in perfect condition. But he just like lacks confidence in his tennis now, and she don't like that because she his wife and his coach, and she don't like losers. So she's like on his head about it, and he like all sad and shit. And I'm like, do better, I guess. I don't know. And they have a daughter. Daughter's name is Lily. Lily likes hotels. That's important. No, it's not. Kind of, sort of. So she's like, oh, I know how we can like. They're watching some match that he lost, and she was like, this is all the things that you could have did better, blah 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 blah. And he's like, oh, like I want to see all that. So she's like, oh, let's do this challenge. Let's enroll you in this like challenge competition or whatever, and then you can be all them losers over there, and then you'll be ready for the U.S. Open. And he's like, I bet we're gonna be in the challenge. So that is the match that we are seeing. As the final of the challenge is the match that we're seeing at the beginning of the movie. So then we flash back. She is 18. Art and Patrick are a year older than her. Art is besties with Patrick 12 years ago. How they get on opposing teams? Don't ask me all that. Art and Patrick are like doubles partners. They just want a match. Everybody's like woo woo. They fight nice. They all that hot guys. Whatever. Patrick tells Art there's this girl named Tashi. She like so good at tennis. She's so cute. She's so fun. She's so sexy. Love her. So they go to watch her play, and then like she wins the match. It's like fantastic, wonderful. And then at the end of the match, she screams because she's like, yeah, come on, blah blah blah. So Art is immediately in love with her for some reason. I don't know. So then they go to her party because they're trying to shoot their shot. So they're like, oh my gosh, Tashi, your match was so good, blah 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 blah. So then she's like, okay, and we jump back forward at some point during this, but like I'm gonna do this whole first night that they met as one flashback because I don't have all that energy to be jumping back and forth. This is the entire first night of them three meeting. So they be at the party, and then so they stay till the end of the party, and they're like, oh yeah, you want to go down to the beach with us? Like, do you want to smoke? And she was like, I don't smoke. And they go down to the beach. They smoking. They trying to be all cool, but they're like, yeah, I'm popping my cigarette. Anyways, and Tashi is like, just like, okay. So they talking about life. They talking about she going to Stanford. Art goes to Stanford. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see you next year. Blah 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 blah. They're like, oh, you're not gonna go pro. She's like, nah, I want to go to school. I don't want my only skill in life to be hitting the ball with a racket. Important. Keep that in mind. Remember that. So, and then she was like telling Patrick, like, yeah, you kind of good or whatever, but you kind of suck also. You're not good at tennis because you don't understand the game. Tennis is a relationship. It's like, so she was like, at some point during my match today, like for 15 seconds, me and a girl was like locked in. The girl she was like going against, we was locked in. It was like we was in a relationship. Like, it's like we were in love. And then they're like, this girl a little crazy, but she cute, so let's rock with it. And I'm like, this kind of give you a little bit of insight into how she about to act for the rest of the movie. Cause she a little bit not there, but it's fine. She cute, isn't there? Art's all like, oh, when you screamed at the end of the match, like that was so beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. He in love with her already. he in love with her. So they're like, oh, well, do you want to come back to our room, like, after whatever, we in such and such room? And she was like, okay, whatever, like. And so they're in the room waiting on her. They're smoking in the people hotel, ghetto, no class.
Very
classless. And so she
classless.
pulls up to the hotel because they didn't think she was gonna come. She pulls up to the hotel. They like drinking or whatever, and they were telling her stories of like how like they were like besties since they was 12, and a very weird story about how when they was 12, Patrick showed Art how to like pull on his knob. I don't know. I don't know what to call that, but yeah. And then I'm like,
Brother,
why I had to know that? I didn't want to know that. So then she was like, oh, like, do y'all often like go after the same girl, blah blah blah? And they're like, nah, we don't do that. It's a lot, blah blah blah. And then so she tries to edit the bear. She's like, oh, the bear's gone. She sits on the bed. She tops the bed. She's like, come. She's like, come here. See, this is how we learn the difference between Art and Patrick. Art is like, which one of us do you mean? Patrick don't give a fuck. Patrick get up. He in the bed. So she starts making up with Art. Then she's making up with Patrick. Then she's going back and forth between the two. Oh, and earlier in the conversation, she had asked them if the two of them had ever like done anything, and they were like, ew, no. Well, they didn't say ew. They were just like, no. Well, I'm like, what? So then they're all three of them making out. She making out with one, they making out with the other, and then she like pulls them in for like a three-way kiss, and then eventually she like pushes, like leans back out the way, so now them two just kissing, and she's like leaning back looking at them all evil eye, like an evil motherfucking genius. She's looking at them like an evil genius, like like one. And then so they're making out for like a good little while, and then she's like, okay, bye, I'm going to my room. And they're like, okay, so are you gonna give us your number? And she's like, no. Whoever wins the match tomorrow can have my number. So the next day after that, Art and Patrick are supposed to be having a match. Art doesn't think he can win. Tashi's like, you can win, like you can beat him. And he's like, oh, so you want me to win? And then she's like, no, I want to see some good tennis. Keep that in mind. This entire first night lays the like freaking groundwork for the whole movie. She want to see some good tennis. We jump back to the present. We see Patrick trying to check into the hotel where the challenge is at, and he ain't got no money. And the woman is like, no, you can't check in here without no money. Are you crazy? And then so he slept in his car because he poor, but he's not even poor. He just stupid. Anyways, he ain't got no money. And so they go to the challenge. They see Tashi sees him in the hotel lobby, and she's like, "Why are you here?" And then he was like, and he's literally on a date. And whole time he's on a date with this lady so that he can go back to her place and sleep there for while the challenge is going on because he don't got no money to have a hotel. And I'm like, why are you a hoe? Like, get a job maybe? I don't know. Like, I don't know. So Tashi's like, yeah, get away from me. If my husband see you, it's gonna be some issues. Like, I don't want to talk to you. Go away. Bye. Art is all like sad that he bad at tennis and that his wife don't love him, and she is upset because her husband bad at tennis and she don't love him. So then we flash back to the past, and basically we find out, like, so obviously Patrick wins the match because Art ain't got no confidence. Patrick wins the match. He's dating Tashi. Art, he comes to Stanford and he's playing like tennis with Art, and he's like, oh, how's it going? And he was like, oh yeah, me and Tashi together, blah blah blah. And he was like, oh, like, did you sleep with her? And then he was like, I can't tell you that. And then he was like, okay, if you slept with her, serve like me. And then Patrick was like, oh, when you serve, you always put the ball right in the middle of the racket, in the middle of the triangle thing in the racket before you hit it. So then he was like, okay, then do that then if you slept with her. And then so he does it, and he was like, keep that in mind. Remember that. That's important. So so then Art is a little sneak. He's a sneaky snake. He pulls up on Tashi and he's like, oh, hey, Tashi, go to lunch with me. I got some extra lunch credits. Come and eat with me. She was like, I bet. I like food. He was like, oh, like, basically he's trying to get in her head and tell her that, like, Patrick is seeing other girls, whatever. But he's trying to allude to it. And he was like, oh, he don't love you. And she was like, what makes you think I want somebody to be in love with me? I don't even, who told you that I loved him, blah, blah, blah. So now, like, she acting like she don't care, but she kind of cares a little bit. So after Tashi and Art have lunch, Art meets up with Patrick, and Patrick is like, and then Art is like, oh, like, how's it going on the road? Like, you meeting anybody new? Like, He's like, what are you talking about? Like, Tashi's my girlfriend. What are we talking about? And then Art is like, oh, really? Because Tashi I don't think she thinks about you that way. Like, I don't know. Shitty boo. And then Patrick was like, I see what you're trying to do, you snake. Like, you're trying to tap me up, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, what? No, I'm not trying to steal your girl. What are you talking about? And he was like, nah, I'm just happy to, he was like, oh, I'm just happy to see you fired up, even if it's about my girlfriend. y'all are weird. Y'all are really weird. What do you mean you're happy that he's trying to steal your girl from you? You didn't think he could do it, did you? But he did. He did. What I find like interesting is that I feel like, I don't know if it was just me or I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I feel like the two guys have more chemistry. Like there's more tension between the two of them than there is with either of them and Tashi to me. So it's like, was that on purpose? Because they did kiss that one time and then like then be acting like that didn't happen. So maybe they end up being a throuple. I don't know. Like the whole time when he was like talking about, oh, I'm glad you're fired up about something, even if it's my girlfriend. Like they was all close and it was like, and I was like, is y'all gonna kiss or what? Cause what are we talking about? What are we talking about right now? So then Patrick comes in, they're doing her daughter, whatever, and then she starts talking about how he's losing all his tennis matches on the tour because her and Art in school, Patrick's on tour playing tennis, whatever. And then he was like, I don't want to talk about tennis. And she was like, I get out of my room then. And then he was like, everything about tennis. And then he was like, oh, basically he's like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, blah 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 blah. Like you think I'm your student, and I'm not your student, I'm your peer. And he was like, I'm not a member of your fan club. And then she was like, you think I want somebody to be a member of my fan club? And he was like, blah, blah, blah. And then they was fighting. And then like she was like, get the hell out of my room, blah. So no, she goes to the match. She's getting ready for the match. Art is there because, you know, Art all up on her ass and stuff. Patrick texts him and is like, I'm not coming. So she's mad because they just had a fight, one. And two, he's not there. And so then she's like distracted or whatever, breaks her freaking knee, breaks her whole knee. So she done. Her tennis career over with. She ain't ever going to the US Open. Never. So she in the infirmary, Patrick pulls up. She's like, get the hell out. I don't want to talk to you. And then Art is like, get out, Patrick. Because, you know, Art trying to steal his girl. Art trying to steal his girl. And also because, like, you know, she's upset. She just broke her knee. So he's like, yeah, get out. So we jump back to the present. It was so much going on. So far what has happened? The three of them met. Both of them liked her. She made up with both of them. Both of them made out. She dated one, broke up with him, ended her tennis career. The other one trying to get with her. Y'all keep it up. Keep up. Because it goes crazy. So back in the present, like they in the tournament, Art still kind of doing kind of ass, but he getting further, whatever. And then she's still like, you're not really like doing what you need to be doing. Well, the day that they met Tashi, Art asked Patrick to throw the match for him because his grandmother was gonna be watching and like he thought he couldn't beat him, but he ends up not throwing the match because he wanted to get Tashi's number. Back in the present day, what's his name? Patrick pulls up on Tashi and is like, oh, I got something, I want to tell you something, but I want to ask you something, but you're gonna get mad. Remember that's important. Take a shot every time I say remember that's important, because literally everything in this movie happens twice, so you gotta remember what happened and who said it, and then so that when it happens again you're gonna know what's going on. So he's like, oh, I want you to coach me. So she slaps him in his face like, who are you talking to? Are you out your mind? Why would I ever coach you? That's crazy. And then he was like, oh, Art is gonna retire this year whether or not he wins the US Open, blah blah blah. Like if he retires, he's only ever would have been good. He would have been really good, but with me you can make something great. Like you could bring me back from like the Bahama barrel, blah blah blah. And she was like, and then he was like, I got a shot, and she basically was like, you could shot yourself in the head. Like she really was like, she was like, you have a better shot with a handgun in your mouth. I'm like, why would you say that, Tashi? That's not nice. She basically was like, yeah, get out my face. And he was like, well, here's my number if you want to change your mind. So she takes the number because she homie hopper till she died. We get another flashback back to 3 years after she broke her knee. She reunites with Art. Art is like, oh, hey Tashi, whatever you doing, whatever. She's like a assistant person, and he's like, oh, you want to come be my assistant coach? Because she's like a training person for some other girl on her team, and he's like, oh, leave her team, come be my coach. And she was like, oh, you don't think that's probably not a good idea, given that, you know, like her ex-boyfriend is his ex-best friend, because he ain't talked to Patrick since she broke her knee because they like fell off or whatever. And so then they have this whole long conversation, whatever. When they first met, Tashi's all like, oh, I don't want to be a home wrecker, because, and that's how they get into the conversation of whether they have done anything before. And They were like, oh no, like never. So when Tashi meets back up with Mans at the Applebee's, she was like, oh, how is have do you talk to Patrick or whatever? And he was like, oh no, we haven't talked for like a while, like we haven't kept in touch. And she was like, oh, so it was a homewrecker. I did break y'all up. And damn, sis. But they go outside, they in the Applebee's parking lot, and he's like, oh, I want to kiss you, but you would think I'm a bad friend. And she was like, a bad friend who? Because basically she's saying like, who is Patrick? I don't know him. I don't care. They start making out in the Applebee's parking lot, and I'm like, in the Applebee's parking lot, really? Back in present day, after Patrick has that whole like thing where he's like, oh, coach me, like don't coach your husband no more, blah blah blah. He meets up with Art in the sauna. They naked. Don't know why. We could have had this conversation anywhere else, but I guess we had to be naked. I don't know. So they was having some like petty back and forth nonsense, and he was basically saying like this and that, like you mad because Tashi was into me back then, and he was like, yeah, but we was teenagers, and nobody care about that, like whatever the hell. But the whole time he was like, Pat had told Tashi, I know Art don't know about Atlanta. So Atlanta is back when they was in Applebee's 3 years after the fact. So clearly after some point after Tashi met up with Art at Applebee's, she met back up with Patrick. We don't know what happened, babes. We don't know what happened yet, but he's like throwing shades, like he's throwing shots. He's insinuating that something happened after she had got back with Art. But let's see. So then he goes, Art is basically like dragging Patrick for filth. Mind you, all of the present day things happens within a 2 week span, but the rest of the movie happens over 12 years. It's a lot. So Art goes to Tashi, this is the night before the match, and he was like, oh, tell me that it doesn't matter if I win or lose tomorrow. And she was like, no, I'm not gonna tell you that. Like, if you lose tomorrow, I may hate you. What the hell? So she like, hell no. I don't like losers. So he was like, oh, I want you to tell me that your love is unconditional. And then she was like, what am I, Jesus? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh. So yeah, he been worshiping the ground. This girl walked on for the whole movie. He is like walking on eggshells from her. He like all sad because she don't think he's a shit no more. And he big mad about it. And I'm like, my guy, just be better at tennis. Just be better at tennis. If you care so much that your wife don't think you hot shit, be better at tennis. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Try harder. She was kind of mean, but like, try harder. What the hell? So then he was like monotone, like I work for you. I don't like whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. But he know the truth. The truth is that if he don't win that match, she will be big mad. And then he was like, he walks away. Then he gets all sad and he comes back in her. And then she was like, if you don't win that match tomorrow, I'm gonna leave you. Does that make you feel better? Is that gonna make it easier for you to play tomorrow? Like, what did you want from me? And he in the bed. He laying on the bed. His head in her hand. And he like, can you stay with me until I fall asleep? And I'm like, girl, he went with, like, girl, what? She leaves the hotel. She goes to go meet Patrick. And then we get a flashback back to what happened in Atlanta. She's sitting in the hotel. He outside. She sees Patrick outside. He comes inside. They're talking. They're like, oh, this and that and that. She got an engagement ring on her finger. She's engaged to Art. And he's like, oh, nice ring. And he was like, oh, who the ring from, whatever. And he was like, oh, she was like, oh, it's his grandmother's ring. Yeah, she died, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, we make having all these pleasantries, and then they just start kissing. He was like, oh, I miss you. She was like, I miss you. And then they started kissing. I'm like, girl, with his grandmother's ring on. Boom, we back in the present. They meet in the car, and she's like, oh, I want you to throw the match. Call back, call back, call back. Remember, Art wanted Pat to throw the match for him the day they met. Remember, it's clicking. We seeing the parallels. You seeing the parallels? I seen them. You see them? Okay. So, and he was like, girl, you out your damn mind. I'm not doing that shit. He was like, oh, he would never forgive you if he found out that, like, you told me to throw the match. And then he was like, I'm not doing it, blah, blah, blah. So then she's like, drive me back to the hotel. And then they get in a fight. And then she gets out the car. And then they're having words. And then she spits at him. The rain is pouring. And then they start making out. And I'm like, ew. You let people spit at you and then you kiss them. You ain't have no self-respect, but we knew that. After Tashi broke her leg, Art was helping her like train and recover and stuff. And she started to have this breakdown. And they were playing this like random children's choir music. Tell me why. They started playing this random children's choir music when she was making out with Patrick in the rain after she spat in his face. That was gross. I don't know, like, Maybe it was to show her she's spiraling. Maybe, see, that's the song that played when she was at her lowest, and then now she's at her low. Filmmaking. I didn't go to school for that. I don't know what I'm talking about. They do the devil's tangle in the car, in the rain, saying like she don't know what she want. He was like, I'm gonna throw the match. And she's like, how do I know you're gonna do it? And he was like, you don't. You have to just believe that I'm gonna do it. So then, cool. She gets back to the hotel. Art is not in the bed, which means he know that she not in the bed. So then he's in the bed, in the next room with their daughter. Remember, they're married and have a daughter. We get back to the point at the very beginning of the movie. We in the match. Art is losing. Then Patrick starts throwing the game. He starts cussing, getting points deducted, wasting time, getting points deducted, doing all type of stuff, breaking the racket, getting points deducted, so that Art is winning. Art ain't no dumbass. He picks up on the fact that he's throwing the game. He just don't know why. And then he keeps like, the camera keeps panning between Art and Patrick and Tashi. So then Art realizes that him and Tashi are looking at each other all the time, and he like, girl, what the hell is going on here? We get to the final round, yeah? Pat throwing the game until Mans takes the ball and puts it in the triangular part of the racket before he serves. Call back. Freaking Art ain't no dumbass. Art remembers that. He remembers that 12 years ago. He's like, hell nah, he ain't sleep with my wife. That's crazy. So then we get a flashback to Atlanta 3 years after they met. When she was making up with, what's his name in the restaurant, with Patrick in the restaurant, after with Art's grandmother's ring on her finger. She was there working for Art. She was coaching him at that point. She was working for him. Art is in the hotel. He comes down. He sees them in the restaurant, right? But then a fan comes up to him and he's signing autographs. And then he turns around. They're gone. So he knew what was going on. He knew about Atlanta this whole time. So now we in a match. And Art is like, nah, I'm not about to go out like that. I'm not about to go out like that. That's crazy. So he starts playing, he starts like wasting time also. He starts cussing, losing points, whatever. So now he's getting points deducted. So now he's throwing the match so that they're the round that they're like on even playing field. So they have to go into a tiebreaker. This tiebreaker start. When I tell you that men start playing tennis, when I tell you those men started to play tennis, like tennis has never been played. They was hitting and serving and then we get to the very last serve. Art jumped up and he hit that ball like, and then he literally almost fell over the net. And then Patrick caught him, and then they started hugging, and then they were crying. And Tashi gets up. Obviously, Art wins the match. Tashi gets up. She screams. Roll credits. When I tell you that shit was messy. So yeah, that was the movie. I feel like, as a whole, I really enjoyed the movie. I think the cinematography was great. There was, during the last match though, like they had like, at one point they had, the camera was the ball, so they was like bouncing. You was seeing, it was giving me a little bit dizzy. I'm not gonna lie, but it was very, very nice. Like the camera was the ball, so the camera's going this way and it's going that way. And the music overall was kind of giving 80s porno though. I'm not gonna lie. Told my friend, I'm like, hey, this sounds like an 80s porno. And they're like, why do you know what that sounds like? And I'm like, doesn't everybody know what that's? But yeah, that was Challengers 2024. We had a like the when he like him asking Patrick to throw the match, then she asked him to throw the match, and it's like, oh, parallels. Watch the movie. It's messy as hell. Her saying like all she wanted was to see good tennis, and like that's like how the movie ends with them playing the best tennis that ever in tennis, y'all. And he scream, he was like, oh, Scream's so beautiful, and now he finally got to hear her scream again after all of them years of them being married and him being a mediocre player. He finally got to see the thing that made him fall in love with her again. Overall I thought it was cool. It was more than cool. I really enjoyed it. Like 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I'll watch it again.